let's fast forward to the front lines. This is how the map of the Ukrainian front looks like today. There are 969 updates today. I won't tell you everything. The most important points. Well, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation declares in this section that they shot down a Ukrainian MiG-29 near Belozerka. Next, here is another fiasco of air defense systems. Right next to this downing is the destruction of the Ifu air defense system on the right bank of the Dnieper. On your screens, there is a missile strike on the position of the command post of the Patriot anti-aircraft missile complex of the Armed Forces of Ukraine near the Chernobyevka airport. The distance from the locations of the armed forces of the Russian Federation is about 20 kilometers here. This is actually a huge fiasco for the Apu, because this complex is a Patriot. It costs $1 billion, and there is very little USU. Literally on the fingers of one hand, you can count how many they have. If a command post was destroyed here, it is a huge loss. Further, the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation declares that airstrikes have been carried out on the areas of deployment of the armed forces of Ukraine in Ivanivka and Nikolaevka, Kherson region. Here in front of you is marked Ivanivka and Nikolaevka, according to the information of the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation. Now geomaterials. This is where the geomaterial came from. Here on your screens, a Russian drone destroys an Apu truck in Ivanivka. In the footage of the defeat of technology, the drone flies right into the target. And now from Lviv from here, the geomaterial has also come on your screens. Here the Russian fabs are destroying the positions of the Apu. Another arrival, huge charges explode. The positions of Ukrainian soldiers in this settlement take off into the air. Now Russian military personnel are reporting from the market itself. Here, the Apu is trying to deliver reinforcements for the Ukrainian fighters who are stuck there. According to Russian military commanders, over the past 3 days, the Apu has tried several times to deliver reinforcements to the left bank, but to no avail. The day before yesterday, there were 5 boats. They were all stopped by artillery fire, and yesterday 1 boat was hit. The complete cleaning of the settlement is complicated by the active work of enemy artillery from the opposite shore. That is, the Apu is still holding on here no matter what. Then Zaporozhye. We are going along the front line. Let's talk about what happened here. Here's a look at the pretty significant changes on the map in retreat. Russian military commanders say that Russian troops are developing an offensive in the area of the Rabodynsky salient. At the moment, they have managed to align the line of control on a 5-kilometer-long section to a depth of about 1 kilometer. At the very beginning, there are fights near the ruins of a school in the center of the village. In the east, the armed forces of the Russian Federation knocked out the enemy from several strongholds in the Verbovoy area, pushing Ukrainian formations away from the Kiev beam. In addition, they regained control of the broad beam, and here the enemy was forced to retreat under the onslaught of Russian troops. And to the northwest of the recruitment, the units of the armed forces of the Russian Federation managed to advance to a depth of up to 700 meters. Russian troops here continue to advance on Ukrainian positions. Look, here on the map, all these sections of the front, which I have told you about, are marked for you. Here is the promotion to the work area. Here, the Russian units broke into the center. Fighting is already underway in the village itself. Here is the alignment of the defense line, which I have described, and here is the advance in the Verbovoy area. By the way, let me remind you that yesterday, this promotion here, Ukrainian sources actually confirmed all these materials. In fact, in this sector of the front, the Apu lost control of 1/3 of all that they took, as a result of the entire summer offensive. Look, the Apu continues to retreat. Here I was. They reached Novoprokopovka at one time, and have already lost 1/3. Remember all this huge, so-called summer offensive of the Ukrainian army. How did it end? Look, we've already lost 1/3. Now, the South Donetsk direction. We go further along the map. This is where geomaterials come in. At this point, the Russian troops in Novodayevka sent an ammunition depot into the air. Video on your screens. The arrival of the Russian Lancet on the Apu artillery piece. By the way, I showed this video yesterday. And then at this point the material also came. The Russian artillery destroyed the Apu ammunition depot in the area of the harvest. Now we are going to Avdeevka right here. Look, here too, the changes on the map are marked for you in a different color, so reddish. This is the advance of Russian troops. According to Ukrainian sources, in the area of Avdeevka, the Ukrainian armed forces continue their disorderly retreat. They say that the Russians were advancing in Ivanovo, Severny, and Vostochny Orlovka. Russian troops were stealing. The northern battles are taking place in the center of the settlement. Look, here is this section in front of you, where Russian troops have advanced, and fighting has actually begun in the settlement itself. Now to the north, things are also bad for the APU here, in this area. In the Avdeevka direction, units of the center group of troops occupied more advantageous lines and positions, suffered losses of manpower and equipment to several brigades of the armed forces of Ukraine. This is a message from the Ministry of Defense. Ukrainian sources updated the map with the words in the Avdeevka direction. Our defenders repelled 7 enemy attacks in the area of the settlements of Orlovka, Severnaya, Pervomaiskaya and Nevelskaya. Again, these changes on the map are marked in a different color for you. They came from Ukrainian sources. Now a very interesting material from here. At this point, the attack of the armed forces of the Russian Federation by armored vehicles and infantry units on your screens. The landing of troops on the position, the shelling of the assault group from the AFU, contact shooting battle in the strong point. There is a video of this attack from the Ukrainian side on your screens. Russian troops are landing with armor. Ukrainian artillery is firing at them with cluster munitions and Vojas from drones. Judging by the video, despite everything, the Russian infantry is acting heroically. Despite the losses, Russian stormtroopers broke into the trenches of the Ukrainians, and the sweep began. It's too early to draw any conclusions about the attack. The Ukrainian side has published materials with a lot of editing and inserts. One thing is clear, the Russians have broken deep into the defense of the armed forces of Ukraine, and further big changes are possible on the map. But for now, let's denote it like this. According to Ukrainian sources, the Russians have moved forward. This is where the geomaterial about this attack came from. Another geomaterial came from here. Actually at Petrovsky's. There are active hostilities on the northern flank of Avdeevka. The successful defeat of the mine-clearing machine of the APU M1150 assault Britcher in the so-called ABCV, on the basis of the Abrams tank, it was made west of the outskirts of Petrovsky. On your screen, there is a video from this section of just this very car, which is there knocked out. At the same time, Russian troops are working in depth. Let me show you where the materials of the strikes of the Russian army came from right here. Look, this locality, it's called Memrik. On your screens, a missile strike by the armed forces of the Russian Federation, on the locations of the armed forces of Ukraine, in the village of Memrik of the Donetsk People's Republic. The distance from the contact line here is about 15 kilometers. And that's not all. Other bad news for the Ukrainian side comes from Bakhmut. Here too, Ukrainian troops are retreating. Solidarity direction, fighting in red, Russian troops broke through the enemy's defenses on the northeastern outskirts of the Ivanovo Red. This is reported by Russian military personnel. At the moment, it is known that several dozen houses have been taken under control, and amphibious units of the Russian armed forces have been entrenched there. This promotion is marked for you on the map in different colors. This is where this site is. In fact, it is the Russian military officers who report. But this section, here, is already Ukrainian sources confirm that the enemy was advancing in Ivanovska, Severny and Vostokny Orlovka. The map has been updated. In other words, this part already comes from Ukrainian sources. Here, as always, we compare Russian sources with Ukrainian ones. In total, Russian troops broke through Red, and the fighting began already in the village itself. The APU continues to retreat here. That's it for me. Thank you for your attention. If you don't want to miss these materials,